Hi, this is Michael Pariente of the Pariente Law Firm PC. I'm here in the conference room of my law firm here at the Hughes Center. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about the disturbing shooting of 50-year-old Walter Scott. He was shot as he was running away from a police officer in South Carolina. Now, I wanted to talk to you today about what you can do if you've been accused by a police officer, if a police officer is a witness against you. What can you do to find out if this officer is a bad cop? Now, fortunately, most police officers out there, are law-abiding. They became police officers because they really do want to protect and serve. And unfortunately, you do have these officers, like we've learned about in recent news events, who are just there to abuse positions of power. And the question that you have to ask yourself if you're being investigated or you're being prosecuted is, what do I know about this officer? If you've looked at the discovery of the police reports and you're reading what this police officer said about you, the question is, what can you learn about this officer? And that's where you have this case called Milkey versus Ryan. It's a Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals case, and it involves a case from Arizona where a detective had hid information and had perjured himself. The prosecution knew about this and didn't turn it over to the defense. The result was that the defendant in that case, Ms. Milkey, ended up on death row for 23 years. Unfortunately, she's been released because it turned out that this detective was one of those bad cops that we were just talking about and had a long history of lying under oath and of having cases thrown out because of his dishonesty. It's up to the prosecutor to review the personnel files of whichever law enforcement member is testifying against you. If it's a detective or it's a police officer, you want to see that personnel file. Now, the duty of the prosecutor is to review the personnel files of the police officer or the detective and then to notify your attorney if there is anything in those files that would call into question the credibility of that police officer or the detective, or to if there's evidence that the law enforcement member has exhibited excessive force, for instance. Those are things that you want to know as a lawyer when cross-examining that officer. And that information is something that I've spent a lot of time in my practice litigating to get. I've given CLEs, which are continuing legal education courses, to other attorneys about how to get that information, and it's a fight. The first thing you have to do is you have to do a motion to compel. You have to request a hearing and ask the court to force the city prosecutor or the state's district attorney to turn over that information, and that is something that they don't want to do. The reason why is because Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, they have their own lawyer, and what they do is they try to stonewall those attempts. Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department's position regarding their personnel files is, oh, we'll tell the DA or we'll tell the city attorney if we think there's something in there that you as the prosecutor should know about. That's not the standard. That's not the law. The law is that the prosecutor has to get that information. So you have to make sure that your lawyer is fighting to make sure that at least the prosecutor has those personnel files, and that prosecutor would then have a duty to review those personnel files. If there is something that the prosecutor is not sure should be turned over, that prosecutor should turn that information over to the judge to do what's called an in-camera review, which basically the judge reviews the personnel files, makes sure there's nothing in there that's of a sensitive nature that's not relevant to your defense. And if there is something relevant to your defense, then it's up to the judge at that point to turn over that information. So it is a fight to get those records, but make sure that your lawyer is fighting to get that. Fighting to get those files, because you absolutely need that when your attorney is cross-examining those law enforcement members who are testifying, who are there to take your freedom away and to really alter the course of your life. So if you want to discuss this issue, if you feel that the police officer in your case, or the detective or law enforcement member is lying in the police report, or is in some way trying to frame you, or if you think that he or she used excessive force against you, give me a call. I'll be more than happy to sit down with you and discuss what I can do for you.